Hey guys, it's Mark back here with you for Standards Navigator, All the Things You Are. This is a great song, of course, Hammerstein and Jerome Kern tune, and what we'll do, as in the other Standards Navigator in the series, we'll look into how to perform the song mostly from a jazz perspective, so comping strategies, very hands-on improv strategy, how to think of the form, different ideas for your arpeggios and scales and whatever. So let's just get going right away. So the song, at first, what I'd like to analyze, of course, is I look at the chart. So this is the real book, the good old like beer-stained or beverage-stained book, and we look at the form. This is a good chart. There's one or two modifications I would do, but also you could look at iReal, because I love that iReal is 4x4x4. It's always super clear on the screen. So we will talk about essentially four different sections. We have the A section, the B section, then we have what we could call the bridge. In this case, it's section C. And then we have an extended 12-bar form. So notice how the total bars is 36, and it goes 8, 8, 8, 8, and 12. 12 is the tricky part that we'll get to in a moment. Good. Now for the melody, and even what's coming before, especially the Parker intro, you get the, that whole thing. I don't want to necessarily play it. So it's a D flat, 7 sharp 9 to a C7 sharp 9. Listen to it, get it. People play at a jam session, super simple. Nothing much is happening on the intro other than people play the intro, then they launch it to the song. they get to the head for a good beating. So learn the melody. Notice also, if you analyze this melody, you're going to be underwhelmed and see how my approach is like, hey, the guys target the thirds. Yeah, so that's a third of F minor. That's the third of B flat minor 7. That's the third of E flat. This is the 7th, then the third of A flat. This is the third of D flat. This is the third of G. This is the third of C, and on and on and on and on and on. So what's cool with this song is if you just learn the thirds, the third degrees, you've learned a melody, more or less. There's a few hiccups. Now, the other thing we have to look into that I love to analyze on my paper, on my scribbles here, is to find out where the key centers are. So I'll revert to using my handwriting and iReal for clarity. Right now, so we have our A section written on the left side, and what I want to do is a quick harmonic analysis. So we can look at what iReal does not tell us, that the real book chart tells us, is this key signature. So if you have 4 flats at the clef, it signifies that we are in the key of A flat major. So immediately we could set up this analysis as A flat as being the 1 chord, right? And what comes before the 1? Well, the 5 chord comes before the 1, typically, and then the 2 comes before the chord. So you could see immediately in harmonic analysis, starting with this B flat to the E flat to the A, we have a 2-5-1 progression, which is super common, super well known. It's called whoops, my bad. This is called a cadence. Sorry, I do have a version 7.8 in my iReal. Keep it secret for now. I can't play that well. So let's not look into that just now. So beyond that, we will notice that each of these 3 chords that we've already analyzed work in the cycle of fourths, and the one that comes before also works in the cycle of fourths. If you just count on your fingers and go F, G, A, B, well, flat. So it's 4, right? It's a 4. Then B flat, C, D, E flat. So it's 4 again. And between E flat and A flat, etc., it's all 4. So the first 5 bars of the song operate in a purely diatonic cycle of fourths. You take the root note 1, so that's 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, da, 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 or you could do da, 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 da. So you're playing F, B flat, E flat, A flat, and E flat. You know my go-to voicings for that kind of stuff, the staples. You put your root on the 5th or 6th string, and then you put 3rd and 7th on the middle strings on the D and G, and you get this. Beautiful. Or you could start higher up and go. Good. So what's good here is that we have basically 5 out of 7 diatonic chords in the key of A flat. So the A flat is really our key center. If you want to improvise in a very, very, I would say, limited scope that's very general, you could improvise over E flat for all these bars, and you would be fine, quote unquote. You could also run some of the arpeggios. You could use a modal approach. You could decide to do alter dominance. I'll get back in a moment. But the important thing to catch is what's happening right here. And that's not a real double bar. It's just a mark double bar. Between here and here, what we have is a total key change. Can you guys guess? Yes, you already did. Of course, we're going to the key of C major. So that's a 2 and a 5 and a 1, but in that new key. All right. So it's going to sound something like this. You do you are da 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 da. So if you just did it with good old bar chords, A flat is going to C. Ooh, let's do that again. It's pretty moody, pretty strange. So what we could say is, if you want to relate it back to the key of A flat major, you're doing your business in A flat. Right? And then somehow you're going to go to 1, 2, 3 major. Because the third chord in the key of A flat major, 1, 2, 3, remember, would be a C minor. Now we turn it into a C major. So there's this sort of pull. So if you want to learn to comp and improvise well, the best thing we could do for that A section, and which would be the case for the B section and the D section as well, is to simply outline that change super well. In comping, it's done with the chords, but make sure here you have something really relevant and fun to do on the G7, especially if you want to spice things up. You should do a G7 flat 9 or sharp 9, like something like that. Right? And get the full sound. So I'll do a round of comping over these first 8 bars. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here comes the juice. Right. Right. So that's really the key to the first 8 bars, is to make sure that you can just cycle, which is a regular diatonic cycle, and that you make your way to this key, to the key of 3 major, interestingly, right? And then the other thing, so here I will put a little flat 9, or you could do a G7 altered. Here you could do a flat 9. So to spice things up further than what's written, the chord here is a true 5 of A flat, and the chord here is a true 5 of C. If you implement this with an altered sort of sound, you'll go a bit further. You could do that in your arpeggio playbook, or you could do it with a scale playbook, or just sit on that darn thing like an E7 sharp 9. Awesome. You know, Hendrix chord. Let's go. Right? Flat 9 or sharp 9 or flat 5, sharp 5. Right? So let me just loop that and go from, and I'll call it, and I'll go a bit slower. I'll do plain vanilla, and then let me turn off the piano so it doesn't get in the way. Yeah. I'll just loop that section and go plain vanilla, very simple, comping and improv, and then eventually I'll go altered. So I'll alter here, and again you could do an altered play, like if you did your arpeggio, that's pretty simple. If you just go up another notch, so 1, 3, 5, 7, so these 2 places are the places to go hyper. And if you did scales instead of, you could do like, I don't know, that's an altered, or you could do what's the other thing, the playbook? G minor pentatonic, G flat minor pentatonic. Like do it so you have a lot of altered notes within your improvising, just to make things a bit more interesting. Let me play a little bit to show you. Plain vanilla. That was pretty boring. Scales. Again, pretty boring. Arpeggio language. Let me alter these chords. Yes. Let me give the same treatment with arpeggios. Good. So you see, you can really go from a plain vanilla comp and a plain vanilla scale and arpeggio vocabulary, and then keep outlining and falling in the right places, and then simply do the altered work here and here. And if you know your melody and you're solid in the chord changes and you've memorized them, then you're golden for that section. I'm going to go to the B section now and just do it very quickly, because you'll realize it's an exact mirror of the chords we have. So before I move too fast here, so remember this is this is 3 quote unquote major according to our original key, right? So if I go A flat is my original key, I went to 3 major. So let's find out about the B section now. All right, no big surprises. So we are in the key of that. So it's the key of E flat. We have a 5 before, we have a 2 before, and then we'll have the 6 before. So notice this is exactly the same carbon copy as a harmonic analysis for the top. It's exactly the same, but it's in a different key now. Our 1 key is a 5th higher. Good. This is also 4. And again, I'm going to put a mark double bar to tell you, hey, wait, we're changed key. What's that? Well, it's the key of G now. And you get your 2 and your 5 and your 1, the key of G. And that new key is also 3 major if we encounter E flat as our 1 key. So just bear with me for a moment. If you look at this and you look at that, you have the exact same chord progression and very similar melody. If you want to look at the melody, very similar, but just a 5th up. So you just went a 5th up from that, and it's the same thing. So same strategies will apply. I'll do a round or two, but what you'll realize that you can do the juice here, your altered juice, you could do it definitely on the B flat, going here because it's a true 5, right? So I'll go on my left side, I go B flat 7 flat 9, and then D7 flat 9 would be also the way to go about this. So I'll do same work, but I'll go quickly through, plain vanilla and going into more altered stuff. Off we go. Sorry. That was altered. That was also altered. One last round. Good, right? So there's always plenty of opportunities. Sharp 9, sharp 5, flat 9, and everything between, even chromatic stuff. You heard me, I'm like, whoops, sorry, I'm sort of dragging, I'm rushing ahead, and then I just decided to go for whatever landing tone. Thirds, really, really important places to land throughout this whole thing. It's just a diatonic cycle that goes to some place else, and then again it's a diatonic cycle that goes to some place else, relatively the same place else, right? It's the same 3, so it's a pretty straight ahead thing to do here. And by the same token, I'll just show you mirror here. Look at this information here. Up until that point, for the last section, which we'll cover, not next, we'll cover after, we have the exact same progression. The only difficulty arises here, which instead of going to a C major, we're going to do something else, and I'll get back to that in a moment. For now, let's do section C, which I'll write on my next page. Good, now we're at section C, and it's going to be pretty tame, pretty boring. You have a 2-5-1 in the key of G major. Da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. Then you have a 2-5-1 in the key of E major, but it uses a 2 minor 7 flat 5 thing, right? So it's this would be a cadence that we have if we were going to an E minor, right? But instead we go 2 minor 7 flat 5 to B7 altered, whatever, and we go. This is beautiful, very, very nice. So that's all the bridge contains. So any or all of your ideas for arpeggios, for scales, for substitution. What did I say earlier? If you have a D, like you go ba-da-dee-dee-da-da, ba-da-dee-dee-da-da, ba-da-dee-da. Like during that D7 sharp 9, you could do what's the formula? F minor pentatonic. It yields 5 notes out of the 7 notes of your altered scale. So it's a pentatonic superimposition. I love that stuff. So here you can do flat 9, alt, whatever. You carry it through, you make your way to your 1, you make your way through your 1. So here it's like deceptive. You're like, oh, we're going to go to an E minor. It's like, no, boom, haha, we're in E major. So there's not a lot of strategies to be discussed here. It's like standalone bread and butter, like straight up 2-5-1s. And I'll just show you that actually the last bar of the form, this guy, the C altered, it's the 5 of F, right? So we're going to go back to F minor right after. So this is just to set up that transition. So it's the 5 of. Even if that key is like, why would I see a C7 in a song that's an A flat major? We've seen C major already, we've seen C minor, what? But this is just going there. It's what we call a secondary dominant. So it's setting up this with a nice tension. Right? And we're back, etc. So let me just do maybe a round of demo. I'll start with plain vanilla comping, then do more evolved comping, and then I'll do plain vanilla soloing, then more evolved altered scale soloing. Off we go. Let's comp. Okay. Solo. Altered. One last round. It's really hard. My ears pull so hard to go to that F minor, but we're not getting it when we look like, let's go like that A minor. So it's a really good B section, really good bridge. Like it's section C here, but this is what we consider the bridge of the song because it differs in nature, especially in terms of the melody, from the other ones, which is again, right, and then there's a sort of an opening up starting here. Again, so this could be written as a G sharp because it's the third. Whoops, it's the third of E major, and then finally we're going to head to our last section of the song, which should be pretty straightforward because we've already done like half of the work. So let's get going with that. All right, let's begin with the end in mind. We fully, we would say in French, deposit ourselves. We go to the song and skier. It's very nice, and it's a good old 2-5-1 in the key of A flat. All right, that's set. And then this guy is a 2 and a 5, minor 7 flat 5 to C7 flat 9 to C minor. Again, it's the same process as we use here at the last part of what we call the bridge, and we're setting up the next chorus. If you're not going to the next chorus, you're going to finish the song and you're done on A flat. Well, if you want another chorus, and then you go to the F, right? So that's super simple so far, and then I'm going to work myself back. What's this? This is our infamous 3 that we didn't hear yet, that we expected to hear here. We have 4, we have 6, 2, 5, 1, 3, and then the 3 is major. Ugh. Now the 3 is minor. Okay, so that's a real diatonic 3 in the key of E flat major. Right, so E flat majors are 1, this is really our key. And then this is a chord, the B is a chord that's a passing diminished. So this one, people will ask me, well, what do we do in this case? It's a chord that's in between. So you have the 3, you have the 2, you have the 5, you have the 1. So in between these two, sometimes you'll hear that. Just it could be B minor, C minor, B flat minor. But in this case, it's passing and the melody's in there too. It's like right, so the B is really truly a diminished one. It's common to see chords that are diminished in between chords 1 and 2, right? 1, 2 with a diminished before. That's sort of Barry Harris stuff, right? So when you have a gap in between the first chord and the second chord of the key and the third chord of the key, it's normal to fill it in with a passing diminish, either ascending or descending. Same thing when you play blues. You go here, you go here. You've heard this a million times. It's part of blues scale, and it's between 4, sharp 4, 5 is a really classic move. It could go up, it could go down. And so here we have this sort of filler mechanism. We go 3 to 2, and we put harmonic plumbing or like putty in between, and it's how the song was written. Actually, there's more ways to address this, but people say, what do I play? Well, you know, this old gamut with the diminished 7 arpeggio or scale, and that works perfectly. Now, I worked myself back, so we have that down. So our strategy should not really differ to what we're playing here. And let's look at the beginning. Same thing. We shouldn't have any different strategy. So 6, 2, 5, 1. Of course, option to do a flat 9 here. Here, option to do a flat 9 or altered. You can always spice it up. And for the 3, we've already addressed that portion. The chord of mystery, the question mark, is this guy here. And once you understand how to do that, it's going to be, well, everything in this song just sort of clicked. It did for me, all right? So the best thing to do is to consider in that bar here in D flat that we are in a bar of D flat major, all right? And if we do nothing to D flat major but change one note, yes, so D flat, not C sharp, D flat. That key, right? If I just did, meaning I would take the third note of the scale, which is an F, and instead of an F natural, I will have an F flat. People say, well, it's an E natural. It's not an E natural because there's already an E in the scale. So D flat, E flat, F flat. Sounds odd. That's what it is in music theory. Then G flat, A flat, B flat, and D. And C, so the only note natural in the soul scale is the C natural. Everything else is flat. Yeah, as if 4 flats at the clef was not enough, right? I know. So if I did just that, I would wind up with that chord, which is the G flat. When I saw the sheets for this, typically they will write it as D flat minor 7. One more reason to understand that this really comes from a minor. So this is like 4 going to 4 minor. So you could do 4 major here. And then you could either transform the D flat into a minor one or just cycle. And I prefer that. And that's how Matheny plays it too. So it's my favorite way to do it. So you put a G flat. And one way to think about this is think about it as, bracket, quote, 4 minor. So if you were doing arpeggios for that time, you could just do, and it would work. So go, I'm gonna do it higher, so 3, right? That'd be a really good strategy for soloing, by the way. You go like, right, this is just passing 4, so 4 to 4 minor, 3, flat 3, diminished, then 2. And from the 2, I think you can get out of trouble yourself, right? You're pretty cognizant of what's going to happen there. So again, I think I'm going to do a few rounds of this, going from plain vanilla comping to a bit more evolved comping, to plain vanilla arpeggio, to more complex arpeggios, into plain vanilla scales, into more advanced scales. And again, the places to really step on the gas is here and here. And this, so long as you can understand that you go from your D flat major to, you can also just treat it as any other good old chord like G flat mixolydian if you wanted. It's sort of a backdoor, but it's not going to the backdoor. You could say it's a backdoor because this is a functional substitute. Like 3 is basically 1 in disguise. You could think about that. It's really up to you. But here's the improv and sort of the strategy for the entire thing. 1, 2, 3, comp. right? D flat minor 6 actually. Scales, plain vanilla. I'm sorry for the mad cow soloing, but you get the idea. So you can start with very basic approaches, very, very basic things. And I'll quote Corey Christensen, whom I had the honor of meeting a few weeks ago. He said, you know, it's repurpose fundamentals, man. It's like, if I can play really, really well on an F minor, I could say, like, what else can I play on an F minor? Well, I want to hear the ninth. Yeah, okay, so if I want to hear the ninth, does this mean I'm thinking about something else? Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of a C minor arpeggio while I'm soloing on that, but still just a C minor arpeggio I already mastered from around here, right? So if you can play really well on a plain vanilla thing, it's going to give you leg room to go and do more evolved things over that. So I just want to wrap up with another sheet because I think it's pretty important to your journey using that song. There's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's not enough staves on my page to do that, but I'll just call out the keys. All right, you do something, and you're in the key of A flat. Somehow you wind up in A flat here, right? Good. I'll just write the big keys. All right, A flat, and then you do something, and you wind up in C. Agreed? Right. Then you wind up doing an E flat thing, right? Cool. And then you wind up doing a G thing. I'm going to refrain from writing it as chord simple. Do you see how this is actually an A flat major 7 arpeggio? This is an arpeggio of A flat, right? So this is the 4 notes of the arpeggio. So here, 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 here. I picked that up from Gary Peacock, actually. And then you're going to go here again. You do a G thing. And then you do an E thing. And then at the end, you're still in A flat. Like this whole thing is like beating around the bush to get to A flat. All right. So if you can just retain the 4 notes of an E flat, A flat 7 arpeggio, like 1, 3, 5, 7, right? Then you got the key to the song. This is the keys we are going to. We're going to what key? We're going to 1. Okay, so you are. Da-na, da-da, da-na. Okay, so we wind up there. And then we wind up there, which is the 3rd degree. So then the next key is E flat. You are the E flat. And then blah, blah, blah. So A flat, C, E flat, and G. Those are the 4 keys of the song, plus then you get to the bridge, so-called, and then you have 2 more. You have the G and the E. but the song is in friggin' A flat. This is what's so interesting. When I heard the Gary Peacock DVD at some point, he just said, yeah, we're going to play on Stella. It's in B flat, right? And everyone's like, ugh. Everyone cringes like, no, there's a million chords. It's not just in B flat. Like, no, it's just in B flat. So same goes with this, which is, I think, a great takeaway, to take things that are, we could say, seemingly complex, but just break them down into the minimal amount of information you can get. That on the screen here is a minimal amount of information you can get about that thing. You can't get any simpler than four things for a song that has 36 bars. All right, on that note, I hope you enjoyed the Standards Navigator. Let me know if you have any other questions about that song, or which song you'd like me to tackle next. Of course, like and subscribe. This really helps the channel, and this really helps me provide more free video for you guys for training. Please look out the website. We just started to do new releases on contents. It's at jazzguitarlessons.net. If you want to take classes, courses, you want to look at free PDFs or more tunes, if you want to join the paid community, that's now open to the public. And I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care. Thanks.